It's easy to get swept up off your feet in all the twists and turns a new relationship has to offer, but once you begin building a solid foundation, these key signs reinforce a long-lasting, healthy relationship. Respect. You both know what it means to each other. Setting up healthy boundaries isn't always about drawing a line in the sand when things go south. Boundaries are good to put into place when we know crossing them would violate our mental, emotional, and physical health or values. But they're also good for establishing a level of respect for each other and for understanding the things you both feel are important. In a healthy relationship, you're making space for each other, you're making space for each other's emotions, and making space to nurture and cultivate other aspects of each other's lives. Duke explains, it's also about being aware of your own personal boundaries. So if your partner isn't too keen on one of your friends, but that relationship is still important to you, it's a good sign if your partner doesn't try to prevent you from seeing them or isolate you from your friend group. Healthy boundaries also exist in an intimate or sexual space too. No one should ever feel pressured or ashamed when interacting with each other inside that space. You trust one another, and that trust is earned. If you've worked through your relationship baggage and you've worked through your blind spots, hopefully you come to a new relationship feeling more neutral about trusting someone else, says Duke. From there, you either come to trust this new person more and more over time, or you come to not trust them over time. And trust extends from the seemingly smallest things, like trusting someone with your emotions or allowing yourself to be vulnerable around them, as well as with making some big life decisions, like where to live and what you want your future family to look like, that will, hopefully, take you both into consideration and benefit all involved. Long after the honeymoon phase has ended, a sign of a healthy relationship is knowing that you can rely on your partner without second-guessing whether or not you can trust them. And there's no real replacement for time when it comes to trust. When the going gets tough, you find a way to communicate. It's kind of easy to have a relationship during the good times, but what really makes a relationship or bonds you as a couple is going through hard times together, Duke says. That means you want to find ways to express how you're feeling, practice active listening when your partner is doing the same, and work together to find solutions, even when you're arguing. You don't always have to see each other eye to eye, but you can always be both good and kind to each other and can always seek to understand the other person, emphasizes Duke. That's what's going to differentiate this relationship from another relationship that may not have a healthy longevity. You agree to disagree. In most cases, when there's a conflict, you want to feel heard and understood, and you want to come out of it feeling like the solution is a win-win for both of you, so there isn't any lingering resentment from either side. But going back to trust, it's also good to disagree sometimes. If you can get through difficulties together, that builds trust, and the more you build that trust together, the stronger you become, notes Duke. So even when you disagree about a problem or a solution or even something mundane that happens during your day-to-day, finding a way to compromise is key. You can also forgive each other. If someone hasn't had a positive or secure attachment in their childhood, they can end up holding grudges and find it difficult to forgive people, explains Duke. But there's no such thing as a perfect relationship, and forgiveness is often a sign of love. If you have difficulty letting go or moving beyond problems that surface, or if you have a hard time with forgiveness, cognitive behavioral therapy can help identify some of the triggers that reinforce that behavior, as well as provide coping mechanisms you can try when conflict inevitably happens again down the line. You're both committed to the relationship. Perhaps one of the most common complaints in relationships is that someone is making more effort than the other. No one likes a one-sided relationship. But how do you find a way to balance everything equally, or at least be comfortable with what everyone is giving toward the relationship? You can always do some reality testing, suggests Duke. The best way to do that is to ask yourself, is this real? Is this true? Is it accurate that I'm holding more weight than the other person? And another way to test it is to bring your concerns to the person and talk about it and see if they're going to put in more effort if you need them to, or if nothing's going to change. However it shakes out, a healthy relationship will likely ebb and flow, with one partner making up the slack for when another person can't, and vice versa. You're kind to each other. This certainly feels like a no-brainer, but we probably don't think of this one as often as we should. What exactly does kindness look like in a healthy relationship? Kindness looks like feeling as though you're safe, supported, and a priority to the other person, Duke illustrates. It looks like apologizing when you've made a mistake. It means active listening as much as possible to your partner. That means at every turn, it's okay to check in with yourself and curb your anger or expectations in order to make space for a level of kindness that's rooted in mutual respect. It's not always going to work or even be a perfect solution, but having the intention to always be kind as much as possible is a solid foundation for a healthy relationship. If you've known someone for a long time, you're not going to be perfectly kind all the time, but I think there should be a certain amount of mutual respect and empathy toward each other, even when you're not having a good day. Duke continues. You enjoy each other's company and support each other's goals. Maybe your weekly after-work routine is composed of playing video games with each other or watching your favorite shows. For the most part, your mutual interests are aligned. But when your partner suddenly plans to run a marathon, which means they'll have to carve out time for training, you're still supportive of those goals, and you flex your time and availability when needed. The importance of doing things together and allowing and supporting each other's personal growth in a healthy relationship is twofold. It allows you both to share the things you love with each other, and it gives you the space to be supportive even when something doesn't fully align with your own individual interests. There are some things that are more important to some people than others, Duke recognizes. For some people, it's really important for their person to be a part of their friend group. For others, that's not very important. So you have to find ways to compromise with each other without feeling like it's a struggle or a sacrifice.